to come to Baroda. Anyway, somehow we missed you, but I hope this event will be. We cannot replace it, but it will have some satisfaction on our side that you we got involved in our some of the activity of society. As Dr. Sonia said, this is an annual. Every year we have been. Sorry, every month we have been doing this webinar event. So almost 12 events in a month, uh, concentrating on mainly environmental issues. We are very glad that you are will be speaking on Aravalli because um, we are working on Aravalli. We have some projects in Aravalli, so I hope it will be quite useful to us. Uh, as I introduce you, Dr. Sohail Madan, he's a director, ecologist, author at WildTales Foundations. He's also worked with BNHS over 2 decades. He's having long experience on ecological restoration, biodiversity monitoring, community engagement. So he's done significant contribution in ecological practices and conservation practices on which in India, entire country. So uh, one of the major contribution by him is butterfly park. Is having a credit to having largest butterfly park. After that, he has also actually, I think, established so many butterfly park. If I'm not wrong, around 80, more than 80 butterfly park, and even the dragonfly park. So he's contributed into various activities like Green Skill Development Program of Ministry of Environment and Forest, Climate Change, Government of India. In recognition of all his activity, conservation and ecology has been honored with a Dr. B. Kyoto Lifetime Achievement Awards in 2019. Particularly, his mainly contribution to his Indian Dragonfly Society. So I welcome you. I hope you'll have a very eventful activity. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, sir, for such a generous introduction. Like you said, I couldn't meet you uh, at that time when we were supposed to meet. It was for me, it was a missed opportunity. I hope I do get to meet you in person soon. I would like to
Sure.
thank your society for giving me this opportunity, especially talk,
I
if you
request everyone to please mute yourselves. I'm sorry for interrupting you, sir. Please mute yourself. Otherwise, I have to mute from my end. So I request everyone who are joining us, please mute yourself and follow, and maintain the decorum of the webinar. So over to you. Thank you, sir.
thank you, Dr. Sonia. As I was saying, this I'm thankful for this opportunity today, especially to talk about the Aravalli range. It's been very close to my heart all these years. I've put in a lot of work uh, towards protection and conservation, restoration of Aravallis, especially the northern Aravallis in Delhi NCR. So happy to see all of the participants here, and it's my pleasure to be here today and discuss my work and try and inspire others to work for the protection of Aravallis. Um, with that being said, I would also like to say that after my talk, there will be ample time for everybody to also get an opportunity to speak. So, like ma'am said, it will be good if you keep yourselves muted right now. In the end, we will take up questions, and at that time, it'll be great to hear from you and get inputs of the participants also. Uh, Let me start off. I will switch off my camera to save bandwidth. Is my screen visible to everybody?
Yes. Uh, I think Dr.
Visible, sir.
Sonia is
Okay.
sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, like you all know, my topic of my talk today is plants of Aravalli, conserving health, heritage, and livelihood. Basically, I would be talking about the ancient Aravallis through a conservation lens that I have been privileged to learn through my years of practice. Most of today's talk will be based upon my understanding of the Aravallis through a decade of field experience in rewilding and restoring Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary. This is a sanctuary on the northern most tip of Aravalli, and I would like to introduce you to the work that has happened here and would like to propose the same kind of measures that can be taken to conserve the plants of Aravalli all throughout the range, right? As we all know, when we talk about Aravallis, it's one of the oldest landscapes on Earth. This is a range which is more than 350 million years old. So a long, long time ago, these massive peaks came into being and have been what we see today is the remnants, the work of nature on massive peaks to get them to the level they're at now. When we look at them, we feel that uh, they're not such high hills, uh, but in these high hills is our future and the future of the biodiversity that lives here and depends on it, right? So this range, Aravalli range, extends all the way from Gujarat to Delhi. It's among the oldest surviving mountain systems in the earth. It actually goes, after Delhi, it actually goes underground and hits almost Haridwar, the starting of our Himalayan range. Yes, this range shapes the ecology and, most importantly, the culture of four states in India: Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Delhi. Why Aravalli? What does Aravalli mean? Actually, it means lines of peaks, line of peaks, right? So these are ancient geological formations older than the Himalayas and integral part of ancient peninsular shield, right? Uh, Very close to in these four states that we find Aravallis, these ranges shape the climate, the ecology, and how people interact with their environment around them, right? My talk is going to be mainly focused around the Delhi Ridge. It's a colonial term given to us by the Britishers. That's what they called the Aravalli Range in Delhi, and it has for Delhiites, so people living in Delhi NCR, it's the green spine. It's where most of the forest, reserve forest, sanctuaries uh, are located. It's where most protection and conservation is required at this point of time. When we talk about the Aravallis in Delhi specifically, this is the northernmost extension of the Aravalli range, called the Delhi Ridge. It's almost 35 kilometers long in Delhi. It goes from Tughlakabad, which is one of Delhi's ancient cities, all the way up to Wazirabad, which is a barrage for where Yamuna hits Delhi, right? A very interesting thing most people don't realize is that our Rashtrapati Bhavan is also made is on a hill called Raisina Hill, and that is also part of the Aravallis. So when the Britishers wanted to get a commanding view of the city that they were going to govern, they chose this site as a hillside over the plains of the Yamuna plains to establish their capital for the Indian peninsula, the Indian subcontinent, more correctly. Uh, when we imagine Delhi, Delhi is a city with a population of more than 20 million people. Just to put that in perspective, that is almost the population of the whole continent of Australia. So a lot of people have been living in this area for more than 4,000, 5,000 years, right? The old city of Indraprastha is also from here. And you'll be surprised to know that there have been uh, cave paintings and ancient stone sculptures that have been found, which have been dated to around 20,000 years old from here. What makes this city so livable by human beings is the confluence of Aravalli Range with the Yamuna floodplain. This gives it a very good position to hold so many people. The capacity of Delhi to hold so many people comes from its uh, unique ecology, which the floodplain hitting the Aravalli Range presents to us, right? Aravalli Range in its own is beautiful, not just when you see it, but throughout the seasons. The beauty of Aravalli is that you can see the changes, perceive the changes by just visually looking at the hills. The hills present themselves in a beauty that is corresponding to the kind of weather, the season we have, right? Mostly, this is a semi-arid climate with the average rainfall of 700 millimeters. Uh, we have extreme summers here. The area is drought prone, and uh, the plants, especially plants of Aravallis, have evolved remarkable survival strategies to just withstand this uh, kind of extreme climate, right? And uh, when we talk about protection and conservation of such a forest range, we have to rely on native plants because native plants have the ability to withstand such less rainfall, extreme summers, such drought conditions. And like one of my mentors, Pradeep Kishan, says that if we want to do some sort of plantation, we should be looking at native plants because they are specially suited to the environment. And it's like if I get a exotic plant from outside, it would need a lot of hand holding, lot of maintenance, water, looking after to actually make it a old tree, right? So it's like getting a polar bear from the Arctic to Delhi and imagining that it will survive on its own. So we have to keep this key thing in mind that survival of the Aravalli depends on the survival of the native flora and fauna of the region, right? Why is the ridge important? Why is Aravalli important to Delhi as a city? One, it reduces the urban heat island effect, as we know. It also absorbs pollutants and carbon dioxide. It acts as a wind barrier. And lastly, but most importantly, it helps groundwater recharge, which we know in a city like Delhi and most cities in the Aravalli range from Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana upwards to Delhi. This ecological ecosystem service is very, very vital to our survival, right? For ages, people have been surviving on the springs and the water in the aquifers in Aravalli. And it is important for ridge also. Apart from that, it is also a natural climate regulator. What that means is that inside the range, temperatures can be several degrees cooler than the rest of the city. You can actually feel that effect when you, in the summer, when you go to a forest, restored forest like Asola Bhati or any reserve forest around in Delhi NCR, you can feel the temperature difference. This these kind of Aravalli forests also help reduce noise pollution and they protect our city from dust storms that might be coming from the Thar Desert. Biodiversity of the ridge. While you look at the ridge, it might seem like a sparse thorn scrub forest, which might not hold much diversity. But contrary to this fact, you will be surprised by the amount of biodiversity such hills uh, actually possess, right? So we did in our restoration work, we've done a lot of camera trap studies, and uh, in a city like Delhi, it's almost impossible to imagine such relict populations still alive, right? So you can see a photograph of a hog deer. A hog deer has been found in a Solavati Wildlife Sanctuary. Leopards abound the place, striped hyenas, black bucks, jackals, jungle cats, civets, uh, upwards of more than 20-25 mammals have been found here. Along with just mammals, there are over 250 plus birds that have been recorded, about 28 raptor species, 12 owl species, um, more than 86 species of butterflies have been found, 28 species of reptiles and amphibians. So this is just to show you that Aravallis aren't barren. They are not just rock and sand. They're also full of life, brimming with a host of different plant as well as animal species. Right? This aspect is mostly not talked about when we talk about protection and conservation of Aravallis. There is still, in fact, a wildlife corridor, a contiguous corridor of forest left in and around Delhi NCR. As you can see on the map, from the northern tip of Asola Bhati Wildlife Sanctuary all the way to Sariska Tiger Reserve. In fact, going all the way to Jalana Leopard Reserve, which is in Jaipur, about 200 kilometers of contiguous, almost contiguous forest remain. So when people say that, oh, if there's nothing left, why should we even bother? But I'm here to tell you that we should bother because there's lot left, and there is so much to protect and conserve that we shouldn't be shying away and saying that oh, the situation is lost. We should be hopeful uh, and proactive in protecting and conserving what we have left. This wildlife corridor actually serves as a critical leopard movement area and helps in the genetic flow and diversity of the wildlife population that we have. So it's very important to understand that uh, our forests are not should not be isolated zoos which confine the animals inside a protected area, but also have connections with the wider forest uh, so as to keep the vitality of the forest alive. These, these isolated pockets of reserve forest or protective forest should be protected with the corridors in mind. If we don't protect the corridors, it will be a moot effort after some years. Uh, they will become like big glorified zoos. So it's very important to think about Aravallis as a corridor, a contiguous corridor, which should not be broken up uh, because of development, so-called development and rapid urbanization, right? Uh, if we talk about the plants of Aravalli, they are unique in the kind of adaptations that they have. They are adapted to the less water available, the sandy, rocky soils. They are they have some adaptation like spines. Some trees don't have leaves altogether. So they have these adaptations is what makes these plants very unique. I'll be talking about a few uh, uh, plants of Aravalli, which some we know of, but very beautiful plants of Aravallis. But before going into some specific plants, I would like to uh, explain the vegetation zones of Aravallis, right? When we want to understand conservation and protection, restoration of Aravallis, it's very important to understand the vegetation zones. Like I said, we have to plant native plants, but we also have to know where in the landscape do these native plants actually fit, right? What I mean by that is if we imagine, uh, say, Aravalli, there are only three kinds of uh, three kinds of reliefs that the Aravalli can have. One is the top of the hills, the other is the slope, and then is the valleys between these hills. So three types of reliefs that we know for Aravalli: tops, slopes, and the valleys between the hills. Okay. So when we go to a land to try and restore it, we need to understand topographically what area we are dealing with and what sort of plants it would fit. So from our 10 years, more than 10 years of restoration practice, we have studied this area extensively and we have come out with these zones. I will take you through these zones one by one. In the picture presented here, you can see that these zones are named after a keystone species found there. Like you can see Kumtha, Palash, Kher, Babul, Khajur, Dhao, Salai, Kem. That doesn't mean that only these trees are found there. It just means that these are the characteristic trees of the area, dominant in that area, and trees that can, when we are reading the landscape, trees that can give us clues to what the topography actually is. I will go through them one by one for your better understanding. I would say this is a very crucial part. I hope everybody understands from the talk today. Okay. First, going from left to right is grasslands. Aravali has some flat undulating surfaces which have rich topsoil that makes them ideal for grasslands. Grasses like saccharum and many other grow here, and these grasslands also hold a lot of biodiversity. Moving from flat grasslands to flat, rocky, open canopy and dry and degraded forest, right? So these are uh, not like the grasslands. These are flat, but they are rocky with open canopy in the sense they have some trees and shrubs, but the trees are uh, trees are have a greater distance between themselves, creating an open canopy. This is dominated by a tree called Kumtha. When we move forward, we go to a open dry valley, which is a broad valley, and in this valley, uh, it serves as a seasonal water stream. When the rains come, the water flows from here, but the runoff is quite fast. Here you will find Palash being dominated. And if you would have noticed ever Palash, now the season is here, you'll see a lot of Palash blooms happening. Uh, if you look at the Palash blooms carefully, you will see that Palash is always, or mostly growing in a line. That line is naturally formed because they are growing in these open dry valleys and the seed is carried by the water along the dry stream. Eventually, when the conditions are right, they become into trees. If we go up the slope in a gentle ridge where the slopes are medium and has open canopy, these are hair dominated areas. Moving forward, we go into deep clay deposits and closed canopy scattered grasslands. So these are basically uh, reliefs which are on like medium slopes, higher than ground level, and have deep clay deposits. They are good rich soil, which helps promote the growth of our desi babool, right? If we go moving forward, if we go into valleys which have perennial water, like the first valley we discussed was the Palash Valley, which was an open dry valley. This Khajur Valley is a valley with deep clay deposits, perennial water source, and ecologically very, very important. So if you see Khajur or Desi Khajur anywhere in the Aravalli landscape, it will indicate to you that there is a water source very close by. On the surface or just below the surface, it contains a lot of water, right? Moving on, there are steep rocky slopes which uh, which are dominated by what we call dhao, Anagesis pendula, which is a characteristic tree of our Aravalli range. Wherever in the Aravallis you see a dense forest, it will be a dhao forest. These are 85% of the slope is covered by dhao, and they are rock specialists and uh, make for very dense canopies. By rock specialists, I mean they are specially adapted to grow over these rocks that you find in Aravalli. Most trees will find it very hard to survive here, but the dhao manages and makes for the character of the Aravalli. When you imagine our Aravalli dense forest, we are talking about a dhao microhabitat or vegetation zone. Moving from that comes the top of the mountains, which is usually rocky hilltops and spurs, dominated by plants like salai uh, and ghost tree. Ghost tree Hindi name, I don't know. Can't remember. But on top of the hills of Aravallis, you'll find the massive trees, very huge as compared to the other tree forms in Aravalli. They will be dominating the area, and that's the only places you will see such trees like Salai and the ghost tree. Uh, Lastly, there is a valley which is of deep clay deposits, heavily wooded, closed canopy, usually between the slopes of Dhao. You will find these valleys with deep humus or organic matter, and this gives rise to broad-leaf trees, which is very unique to Aravallis. We don't find many broadleaf species in Aravallis, but when there are ideal conditions like uh, the Cam valleys, you will find such broadleaf trees and a dense woodland. Whenever there is a valley and a dense woodland trees, you you must understand that this is a place where trees like Cam and Fluctoria indica, trees with broad leaves can grow, right? So this is a basic understanding of the Aravalli vegetation zones. This kind of understanding helps enhance our restoration efforts. If we plant the right tree at the right relief or the position, it has greater chances of success and will need less maintenance. What I mean to say is, if I plant Palash in a valley which is supposed to have khajur, in the sense that a valley which has a perennial water source, the Palash won't do that well. Vice versa, if I plant khajurs in an open, dry valley with fast runoff and seasonal stream, the khajur won't do that well. So we just don't need to know what the right native plants are. We also need to know where they're supposed to be planted, which area is best suited for their survival. Right. Moving on, we can discuss some seasonal beauties. Some of my favorite plants I've featured here. I've been all over the world, been fortunate to have traveled all over the world and seen some of the most fantastic, beautiful looking trees. But Aravalli, some trees of Aravallis beat all or everything that I have personally seen, right? So some of them are our very own, everybody knows about it, Palash, Buteo, which is blooming right now, indicator of the spring, uh, a very hardy plant, uh, medicinal plant, has cultural value. The wood is used in our Hindu pujas. The seeds are eaten. It's a host plant for a host of butterflies like pea blue, etc. And I have been lucky enough to actually see the very rare variety, the yellow palash, which most people haven't seen. It is found in areas near Udaipur, some places in Madhya Pradesh, and some places in West Bengal. So a very rare variety of our own red palash. A beautiful tree to see actually in person. And we can discuss if you guys would like to see this tree personally. We can discuss. There are other locations that are accessible to people where they can see them, right? Moving on, one of my favorites is Dudhi or Rictia tinctoria, which is again a very hardy tree, grows in between the slopes, the rocky slopes of Thao. And uh, for a few days in March end or April beginning, they flower. And when the tree flowers, the whole tree is taken up by these white, beautiful looking flowers and a beautiful sight to behold. These trees are, you can see the seeds here. There are, the seeds are transported by the wind to different locations, different rocky outcrops for regeneration to happen, right? Then there is all of our favorites, Amalthas, Cassia fistula, which is a summer indicator in our region. When you see the Amalthas tree flowering, Indian laburnum is also called, when you see it flowering, you should understand that the summer has arrived in our area. These are, again, host plants for butterflies, makes for very good avenue tree. Uh, and also a medicinal plant. The roots of it is used for gastro problems and stuff like that. And it is also, the seed pod is also a great food source for animals like jackals, which depend on uh, the seed pods, right? Next is Cretivia religiosa, which is the barna tree. Again, a beautiful tree. Most of the time, you will see this tree bare with no leaves on it. Very hard to recognize this tree if it's not flowering. Again, in this season, uh, you will see it flowering for a few days. And the tree is full of these flowers, these petals, purple petals, yellow, white flowers. It's a beautiful sight to behold. Again, uh, very few of these trees remain. They are actually part of the RET trees, what we call RET trees, meaning rare, endangered, and threatened species. So important to grow this threatened tree, right? Then my all-time favorite is the Capparis decidua, Kareel, uh, Care, it's even called. Somewhere, some people call it teat. The fruit is eaten by birds. Of course, it's also eaten by human beings. Most of the varieties you'll see are the red one that you see on the left. Uh, these are leafless trees, a host plant for pioneer and uh, a few other butterflies that I can't recall right now, but very important for our area, a very, very slow growing tree. So knowing this tree and protecting this tree is much more important than actually growing this tree, because growing this tree is almost impossible. We have tried growing it, and it takes about 3 to 4 years for it to just become a small bush. So if you see a big kareel tree somewhere, imagine it to be a very, very old living being with us, right? Some old trees you can see in Aravallis. This is also a important fodder tree for the livestock that depends on the Aravalli region, right? These, having said that, plants of Aravallis support birds. They are supporting pollinators, insects. They're also supporting the herbivores of the region, and they also support the soil microbes, right? So every plant species is part of a complex food web. Every species has its own place, importance, and ecological services that it provides. Like we were talking about earlier about the livelihood. So these plants are very important for local communities that depend on rich forest. What they depend on the rich forest is for fodder, one, their livestock, be it goats, sheep, cows, depend on open grazing areas or valleys and slopes of Aravalli for their nutrition. Then the local communities also depend on Aravallis for fuel wood. Then there are a host of medicinal plants that can be derived from the Aravallis, and uh, you will be surprised, are still in use by a lot of communities. Uh, Even I use some Aravalli plants as medicine. And of course, they have, because human beings have been living in Aravallis for such a long time, they hold significant cultural value. Most of our, most of these trees of Aravallis have some kind of religious connection, either uh, uh, provided to for puja or specific gods like Shiva. So there's a big cultural connection of these plants also with the local communities living around, right? The native plants, apart from having a cultural connection affecting livelihood, etc., they also improve the air quality, they reduce dust, they regulate climate, they support pollinators. This should tell us that human health is closely linked with plant conservation. We are not just conserving plants for the sake of it or to save the Aravallis. We are all, if we are conserving plants, we are actually with uh, directly working with human health, trying to improve prevention instead of trying to improve the health of people living around Aravallis, not just as medicinal plants. Like, just when we get sick, we need these plants. We need these plants to live a healthy life, to maintain a healthy life, right? Not to just get healthy from an ailment that we might have, right? Moving on to the threats that are now, we know, coming to our Aravallis. One of the biggest has been the latest one we must have all heard of. In November 2025, Supreme Court came out with a ruling, 100-meter rule for Aravallis, which in my opinion, is a disastrous classification of uh, Aravallis. What it means, what they are trying to say is that hills over 100 meters are only going to be considered Aravalli. Everything else is going to be open to exploitation, right? So this is green humor. He came out with a very good, a cartoon on it, trying to tell us that, there's so much diversity which wants to welcome us to the oldest fold mountain range. But the new India is only looking at Aravallis to exploit it. Even without this ordinance, even without this ruling of Supreme Court, some studies suggest that about 25% of Aravallis have already been lost in Rajasthan to mining, right? Have already been degraded, have already been lost. So, if these rules come into effect, fortunately, this order has been stayed in December 31st or 29 December 2025. But if this comes into play, more than 85 to 95% of the Aravalli range is going to be open to exploitation and degradation by mining, right? So the major threats to Aravalli at the moment are mining, urban construction, dumping of debris, overgrazing, and invasive species, right? So mining, we all know, is an extractive business. If we mine the Aravallis for its stone, for its grit, for its sand, uh, eventually all the carbon is lost. The land loses its ability to grow anything, right? With urban construction, most of these areas are taken over, lost forever to residential complexes or golf courses or hotels, stuff like that. Also, they lead to fragmentation. We were talking about the wildlife corridors. Such urban construction greatly contributes to habitat fragmentation, which in effect has a very detrimental effect on the wildlife living here. Plus, a lot of Aravalli has been used as dumping grounds in Haryana, in Delhi. There's even uh, a kind of move by the government to convert some areas of Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary into dumping grounds. Basically, the hills, the dumping grounds of our city have become these hills, an eyesore, and everybody thinks that to get rid of this eyesore from our city, we must move them into forest or inaccessible Aravalli hills where they're out of sight, out of mind. But this, in fact, will have a very bad effect on because leachants from this garbage go into the water source and have been creating cancer capitals across. So Faridabad is one, cancer capitals across the Aravalli range, wherever these dumping grounds have been made, right? The leachant goes in, the uh, makeup of the Aravallis is such soil and sand that it can easily go up to the water table, the aquifers, and destroy them completely for human use. Apart from that, overgrazing and the spread of invasive plants like Prosopis juliflora or Lantana camera are affecting the health and vitality of the forest. So it's very important to control these. One of the sleeping dangers, what I call it, is beautification. A lot of times we have very good intention and we feel that it's very important to do something, right? What I mean by do something is, oh, I want to create a green space. I want to make a forest. Now everybody wants to plant trees. It's very important. Everybody knows we have to plant trees. So this haphazard flow of good intention that I want to plant trees, I can plant trees anywhere, I can plant any kind of trees anywhere, is becoming a big danger, especially in cities like Jaipur, Delhi, these big cities in the Aravalli range. Uh, People are converting, government agencies are converting these Aravalli forest into parks. When they have good intentions, they mean they want to save the forest. They're like, okay, let's plant something, let's plant flowers, make pathways, give water, create gardens. This is having a detrimental effect. This removes the natural undergrowth of the forest. It reduces the biodiversity of the area. It destroys the microhabitat. And we must remember, a forest cannot be replaced by a manicured garden. Just because a manicured garden looks green, it doesn't mean that it's actually a forest and it's actually providing the ecosystem services that an intact old growth forest might, right? So even with good intentions, we might sometime be harming more than doing any good. So it's very important to understand the basic principles and the ethics of restoration of Aravallis, right? Moving on to restoring Aravallis, this is from my personal experience of working in Asolabhati Wildlife Sanctuary. I had the opportunity to work with the forest department and the communities around it, uh, plus involving citizens into converting this mining site. Solabhati Wildlife Sanctuary used to be a mining site. In the 1980s, 90s, there was a H.C. Mehta case which banned the mining in Delhi NCR region. Uh, Out of that came these mining areas of Asola Bhati. They were cleared out. uh, Forest Department took possession of it. It was declared a sanctuary. This is a 32 square kilometer forest area between South Delhi, Gurgaon, and Faridabad. And uh, slowly, by efforts continuously over the decades, this has now been transformed into a vital green lung for Delhi, right? A lot of effort has been made to protect and conserve and actively restore this mining site into a forest, right? So the key strategies that were followed are: one, most important, sometimes we forget, is protecting the old growth forest. Protecting what we have is, in my opinion, much more important than doing planting any new trees, right? Then second is restoring degraded lands by rewilding, or what we call assistive regeneration, using native plants. Actively removing invasive species like Prosopis juriflora and Lantana, Parthenium, Subabul. These are the four major threats. Planting native species native to Aravallis in the right spots. And lastly, and most importantly, soil and water conservation measures, right? Uh, Making gabion check dams over seasonal streams. What happens in Aravallis is that very little rain comes, and when it comes all together, and there is fast runoff, and most of the water is lost to sewage or open drains in the city. The idea in soil and water conservation measures is that we try and slow down the water that is falling in the form of rain, and hope that the water uh, is absorbed right there and then, and it helps the plants growing in that area instead of being lost to the sewage or uh, city sewers, right? When we are Any restoration can only be successful if we accept the role of native plant nurseries. When in my introduction, it was mentioned that I helped, had a hand in making India's largest butterfly park in Asola Bhati Wildlife Sanctuary, actually. When we started that project, we realized that uh, we needed native species to attract butterflies. Butterflies of an area are attracted to local plant species. They serve as larval host plants, where female butterflies use these plants to lay eggs. And the caterpillar that comes out of the egg feeds on the leaves of these plants. So we needed a lot of native plants, and a shocking realization came to us that in Delhi there are no native plant species. We had to go all the way to Jodhpur, to Afri and other institutes who could help us in procuring plants. So we decided that this is not a sustainable way to do any sort of restoration, even if we can't make a small butterfly garden of, say, 6 acres. How are we going to restore 32 square kilometers of forest? So we decided to make these nurseries. And I'm happy to report that today about 10 lakh plants, native plants, are grown annually in this nursery that we developed. And we also there's a service of free as in it's nishulk seva, we call it. Basically, anybody coming to the uh, nursery can pick up native plants for free for any sort of plantation they want to do in Delhi NCR. And lakhs and lakhs of now native plants are being uh, planted in Delhi NCR using this nursery. So we started from a place where there were no native plant nurseries in the area to today supplying 10 lakh plants every year. So the heartbeat of a restoration program has to be a well-equipped, functioning native plant nursery, right? These nurseries help us in ecological restoration, they help in habitat creation, and they also help the local biodiversity. Apart from active regeneration restoration, it is also very important to monitor the biodiversity of the area, what we call baseline, endline, midline, endline surveys. We can use scientific tools to help us track the recovery. What I mean by that is the kind of plants we are growing, the kind of conservation measures that have been undertaken, the success of such measures is dependent on the biodiversity that returns back. So it's very important to do bird monitoring, to do butterfly surveys, to do camera trap studies, to do citizen science programs where we can establish that our measures are successful because there is a return of this biodiversity. Like I talked about, the camera trap studies were undertaken to understand if uh, our efforts of turning the mine into a living, breathing forest are actually successful. So if leopards return, uh, the kind of density of mammals increases, the species index richness increases, we know what we are doing is right. Otherwise, just by saying that, oh, I planted 10,000 plants or 10 million plants, that's not enough. How we understand success of our programs, our restoration programs, is by monitoring the biodiversity, because in fact, eventually we want our forests to be full of life, full of biodiversity. We don't want monocultures like eucalyptus plantation or any other monoculture which does not support wildlife. We want our forest to be there for the wildlife, not just for show, right? Moving on to the last part of my presentation, people and the Aravallis. I feel that this restoration, conservation, protection cannot be done in isolation. Nowhere in the world has any conservation program been successful where people have been have not been involved. Local communities, school children, uh, people with stake in the forest are not involved. If they're not involved, we will find no success. Everywhere in the world, successful programs, conservation programs begin and end with the local community. Sadly, in our country, the prevalent method of conservation has been to remove people from the forest and do what I call helicopter conservation, people coming from outside or far away or from helicopters, so as to say, telling the landscape, telling the people around it how to conserve instead of relying on traditional knowledge or power of citizenry to actually revitalize, conserve, protect our forest, right? So people, involving people in restoration, active assistive regeneration is of vital importance. What can citizens do? Citizens can help protect rich forest by uh, alarming or keeping, the untowards elements outside the forest. If there's illegal use of the forest, that can be stopped by role of citizens. They can help doing that. Citizens can also help plant native species. They can support restoration projects going on in their area, and they can also participate in the monitoring of the biodiversity in the baseline, end line, midline surveys that are being carrying on to monitor the biodiversity. This not just helps with resources and manpower for the restoration practitioners, but it also empowers the citizen to really believe that they can and they are protecting their local biodiversity. They have a role, they have a duty, and they are being able to do that. So in right now, I feel most people want to do something for the environment, don't have enough opportunities to do so. So if we involve citizens in active restoration, regeneration, I think it will also have a cascading effect where people will, from protecting the forest, start protecting their own neighborhoods. Take the good practices of protection and conservation from the forest to their actual neighborhoods and take active steps to better their local surroundings also. Empowers them to become role models or inspirations for uh, a lot of other people who want to contribute also, right? So, in the end, I would just like to say that Aravallis are not just hills that you see, barren, thorn, scrub forest. They're part of our geological history, ancient geological history. They are a ecological sanctuary which our life depends on. These are cultural landscapes which hold our story, our human story, and uh, they are also life support system for millions of, like I compared Delhi's population to Australia. So it's a life support for millions of people. So this living heritage really needs our uh, utmost attention, right? If Aravallis disappear, if Delhi loses its ecological backbone, we will we will lose it. Will Delhi will lose its ecological backbone? Of course, the city will become unlivable. The air, water, everything that our life depends on will slowly be destroyed. We need to protect the native plants. Protecting native plants of Aravalli means protecting our health, our heritage, and our livelihood. With that, I would thank you all and open it up to question and answers. Any doubts or any comments or experiences you also might want to share.
Thank you, Sohail sir, for a wonderful presentation. And as we come to the end of the presentation, I would like to invite everyone to come into the room. So if you are comfortable, you can please open up your camera and ask the question and answers directly to sir, as the stage is now open for Q&A. Meanwhile, few things are also pouring into the chat. So let's bring everyone into the room and you can share your experience, questions, and doubts. And of course, the praises. Praises are all already pouring into the chat box. So, sir, you may stop sharing your presentation. Sohail, sir, you may please stop sharing your presentation.
Already.
Yeah. And it would be nice if you can also switch on your camera,
Yes,
because
yes,
now
of course.
presentation, the bandwidth will be restored.
Yeah, I would like to say that, of course, questions are welcome, but it would also be, I would also really like people to share their experiences if they have in conservation or protection, any restoration work that they have carried on, or they want any tips on how to go forward with their work. I would be happy to hear that.
Sir, but before, during the presentation, we have a question for you from Shreya.
Yes.
What is the final status on the new ruling of Supreme Court?
It has been stayed. There's a centrally empowered committee that has been formed to reevaluate the 100-meter rule. So it's all in a limbo. We can't. So this, without getting political, I would say I've worked with the government for more than 2 decades. No bad idea ever dies in the government, right? So we have to be ever vigilant. This the court ruled in November, and there was a huge hue and cry by the citizens. That's what brought about the stay. That's what brought about the formation of the CEC, Central Empowered Committee, to relook, to redefine all of this. But from my experience, if people put put their foot off the gas, as they say, then we might see this return. So we have to be vigilant and uh, speak up whenever this comes back again. For now, we are safe.
And thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question. Sai Girdhari is asking, how does traditional grazing turn into overgrazing in area like Aravalli? That's
Uh,
insightful.
Basically, lots of Saib, a very good question. Um Traditional grazing has always been beneficial for the forest. But what has happened is that a lot of restrictions are placed over areas which can be grazed due to the legal protections that we give the forest by making sanctuaries or national parks or reserve forest or what might not be. So the when the areas are restricted for grazing, that leads to more pressure on the plants in that area. So that is where the grazing becomes overgrazing. So we need to have regulated grazing, in that sense that, in my opinion, most areas of Aravallis can be opened up to grazing, which will in fact uh, help in regeneration of the natural forest, mm, and also relieve pressure from just specific some areas which are open to grazing. I think, in my opinion, that's how grazing turns into overgrazing, because we kind of restrict grazers from their traditional grazing pastures and restrict them to just small pockets where we say, okay, you can do it, kind of thing. It's part of that helicopter conservation. We come in and say that this area can be grazed and this area cannot be grazed. Whereas traditionally, I believe, especially in areas like Aravalli, uh, grazing had a positive impact. And because there was grazing, there was dependence of people on the forest, which in fact helped in conservation. rather than the other way around, rather than the way we think about it now. Hopefully, Sai, that answered your question.
I'm sure Sai, you got the answer, and that was an apt one. A lot of praises are pouring for you, sir. Dr. Maya and Shreya, everyone is saying thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
And yeah, Karina is saying thank you for delivering presentation. It was insightful. Yes. Jessica is asking, sir, wanted to say thank you for this much wonderful information. How effective, her question is Jessica's question. Okay, this is Sachin's question. How effective are current government policies in protecting Aravalli forest?
No comments. See, we can't paint the same kind of brush. Some areas, government is not one entity. We must understand. Government is uh, Delhi government is different, municipal government is different, Rajasthan government, people in Udaipur, everybody is governing themselves. Our constitution has been beautifully designed that people can govern themselves. So it's very, it's not fair for me to paint the same brush everywhere. Some places have taken this up seriously. Some governments have put in a lot of effort, and sometimes the same government have done very good things and very bad things. So it's not, you can't say what is happening.
Thank you,
Like
sir.
you can't just, it can't be just one brush. So there's some good things happening, some bad things happening.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you for the question.
Question. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Thank you, Sohail, sir, for this talk. And actually, wanted to introduce a concept of large-scale volunteer projects that happen in Germany. I live in Germany, and I want to move to India soon. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm in, but yeah. So, I w- first question is like, what are the possibilities for volunteers to actually get involved? Like, how much restriction is there? And so how it happens here is that foresters and the volunteer organization and the citizen, a normal volunteer, they work together. So you can apply for, it's called Mitmachen, work together, and you can apply for a volunteer project, and then it's decided by the ecologists as well as the foresters, like where it has to be planted, and it includes removal of of the invasive species as well as spruces, like which are growing everywhere, and planting oaks and you know other trees, oaks and maple trees, and the trees that are not part of the native forest anymore because of the monoculture that has happened because of the spruce. And so I always wonder whether we can do this in our country and how that would be
Oh yes.
possible to have.
Oh yes, we can
Yeah.
do this. We can do this in a nice. Thank you for that question. We can do this in our country. Uh, in fact, our restoration project in Asola Bhatti was based around this only. We wanted to not just create forest or monitor biodiversity. We've also wanted people to be part of it, citizens to be part of it. If citizens don't care, if citizens are not planting that tree and coming back to see that the tree is growing well, then they don't have any stake. We remove their stake from the protection and conservation of forest, and that's what makes us insensitive towards nature. So,
Right.
like I said, none of this can happen without citizens, without large scale participation of local communities. And I'm actually very happy to report here to all the interested people that there is a Ecological Restoration Alliance that has been formed like 2, 3 years ago in India. This is an alliance of all the restoration practitioners, government, non-government, private, NGOs, CSOs, all of them getting together, creating a platform. So their best practices could be shared. Uh, People can have peer-to-peer learning, and uh, learn. Like in our country, it's also a matter of learning how to involve people. We cannot just imagine a project and do it in isolation. We also, because our education system is such that the practitioners which come up feel that it's only them who know the answers, and reliance on traditional knowledge is kind of disappearing. So the more people will we involve, the more of this traditional knowledge that we can bring in into our practice, which might be of very like immense help to the project itself.
Yeah.
So there are movements happening. Hansi, if you come back and work, it'd be great. And you'll be surprised by the kind of people movements that are happening in India now.
Yes, I would
Like
like
when
that.
sorry, I just finished my comment. Uh, when I started working in Asola Bhatti Wildlife Sanctuary, it was a place where people were murdered and rapes were happening. Now it's a safe place where people can go for picnics and uh, monitoring biodiversity, bird watching, butterfly watching, all of that. So a complete flip has happened because of people. Governments can't do that. It's only people
Yeah.
who do that. It's people who I say vote with your feet is my mantra. Don't just vote in the ballot box, vote with your feet. If I keep going to a place, then I will like it. And if I know it more, then I will love it. If I love it is only when I will start protecting it. You can't start with protection. You have to start with liking and familiarity and love for the place to begin protection and conservation. Sorry, you were
Thank
saying
you.
something.
No, I was just saying one last thing. Maybe it's not even relevant. The model they have is very simple. So it's like you get food for 7 days and you get to stay in the forest. Oh no.
So what we could hear was you get food and you get to stay in the forest, right? So of course that those sort of programs have been run by some NGOs, and they're not on a large scale, because if we let people stay in the forest in India, then the forests are going to go away. So it's just a matter of, the kind of populations we are dealing with. So, but there are programs where interested people can volunteer and stay in a forest and contribute their knowledge, which could be not ecological knowledge. It could be, say, marketing or working with kids or anything from their domain.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And vote with your feet was quite a powerful quote, and to take away. We have a question from Jessica. She's asking, does Tail Foundation take internships?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So yeah, Jessica, I am sure you are welcome. You'll be welcome over there.
So,
Dipankar is asking, with rapid urban expansion in regions like Gurgaon and Faridabad, what practical steps can cities take to reduce pressure on the Aravalli?
practical steps. Stop feeding the monkeys. Stop throwing garbage in the forest. Start taking your kids to the forest. So these are some very basic things that you can do, will change the perspective of people coming to the forest and our future generations. I really feel that kids should be involved. Nowadays kids are going to the mall, they're going to watch movies and whatnot, right? There's so much exposure on reels and all that. But I feel that kids are always very curious about nature. They have a connection with nature, which is like God given. Somehow the society takes away that, that connection. I've had, I conduct a lot of education, nature walks around different taxa, bird watching, butterfly watching, dragonfly watching, and all that. And I've had parents ask me, are there going to be mosquitoes in the forest? Right? So imagine the discontinuance of the parent to even think that there can be a forest without mosquitoes, right? They want to go to a forest, but they don't want mosquitoes. Nature comes with everything. We have to brace ourselves. We have to like the mosquitoes. We can't villainize one thing just because it gives us dengue or malaria. We can't villainize it. And I'm telling you by my own uh, experience, the forest mosquitoes don't give you dengue. It's only in the cities that the dengue is happening because there is pressure on the mosquito populations also. That pressure makes these pathogens alive possible, right? So dengue is more widespread in the cities rather than in the forest. So if a mosquito is going to bite you in a forest, it might be a big bite, but it won't leave you with a disease. Most cases. Of course, malaria is different and easily tackled nowadays.
Yeah, sir, our director want to ask something.
Sure,
Sir.
sir.
No, I don't want to ask, but as I said, we are working on Aravallis, it is in Gujarat part. So we are basically working on forest land restoration of Aravalli area. So what we did under recap for NDC, that is the IUCN project. Okay, so restoration and conservation of forest area based on landscape concept. So
Mhm.
what issues we are facing? There is a huge invasion of invasive species like lantana and prosopis in Aravalli part of Gujarat. Overgrazing, yes, overgrazing is there, particularly by goat and like sheep. They have grazing issues. Other things, involvement of local population is very, has become a challenging because most of the natives now they are diverted to agriculture, the traditional agriculture. So there's gatherers or hunter anti-FP species. Na, their dependence on anti-FP has reduced.
Reduced,
So
yes.
we have to train, orient them towards. There are elders. There are some pockets where there is still knowledge. So we are trying to work with those people where there is still the traditional knowledge is there. There is some understanding of forest ecosystem among the locals, but still they are facing problems like invasions, water scarcity. So yes, Aravalli dealing with the Aravalli is quite challenging because the recently climate change has also become major issue in Aravalli.
Yeah.
Some parts they have increased the rains, other parts there is a decline in the rain shadow zone and rain gaining zone has been changing, particularly in Gujarat part. Earlier it used to be eastern part getting more rain. Now the western part is also getting heavier rain,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
that has helped to actually spread the invasive species in absence of native species. So we are trying to understand at the same time involve. The good thing is communities are happy to get involved, but there is some sort of the young generations are not that much in contact with the traditional knowledge. So that
Absolutely.
we have been facing that issue. We are trying to work with holders. Of course, mining is major issue in Gujarat, mining of marble and those things. But that also we are, of course, we are also get helped by the government. So they are also helping us in identifying the abandoned mining areas or areas where could be restoration taken. So
Mm.
today's your lecture was very helpful in finding the various other issues that are being faced by other part. Here, urbanization is not a major issue except the Ambaji. There is a this religious town, and there is a what you call Shakti Pit. So that tourism is there. Otherwise, the tourism or urbanization is not a major issue in this part of that. That we are lucky actually. Whatever
Okay.
forest is there, it is in native state. So yes, I hope just like you are working in the central part, Rajasthan and Delhi, will be able to have some impact on this part. So thank you for this lecture, and we'll look forward to interact with you in the future project activities. I hope. let's see, we can
I
have
would be
some in future
I would be
interaction.
happy to help, sir. Happy to contribute. And you brought out a very important point, I think. Uh, like you said, there are some elders. For us, those elders should be living heritage, and we should conservation should include uh, stewardship by elders and conservation or propagation of traditional knowledge should be part of active restoration projects. We cannot do it without them. And this disconnect that has happened, that the youngsters have moved to farming or totally out of the area to cities and have no connection with the forest, is a big problem. And I think that's where more nature educators and people like that should be involved to kind of reignite that passion for their own local community or for their own local landscapes. So this, yes, we all of us restoration practitioners feel that this is a big problem, that traditional knowledge will slowly disappear, and we'll have to work from almost zero to get the newer generation involved. But I think catching them young is the key. The younger we catch them, you know, like I believe every kid wants to play with soil, flowers, plants. The it's only their parents, or maybe not blame their parents, the education system that tells them, though, no, trigonometry is more important, you know, understanding economics is more important. But everything eventually, our living kind of the conditions that we will be living in will depend on the forest and these natural landscapes that we keep alive. So in my opinion, it's much more important to tell the kids that keep playing with mud, keep playing with soil, forget about trigonometry, it's not going to be so important. So that kind of, get good marks in maths kind of attitude has to be changed. The parents have to think beyond schooling, just getting into a good school, getting a good job is not going to be enough. You will still live in a city like Delhi where you will not be able to breathe. So it won't matter how big your bank balance is, your lungs will not be developed. So we have come to that stage. Like I was saying, the story that I was trying to say that uh, from an unsafe area where nobody wanted to go, now people come there just for the air. They know, people living in Delhi know that, oh, let's go to Asola Bhati because wahan hawa to saaf hoga. So that kind of realization has come into the zeitgeist, into the normal parlance, what people talk about. It's our responsibility as restoration practitioners to underscore that and be like, I tell everybody, I am a propagandist. I do propaganda for nature. And we have to keep on doing that propaganda for natures because we want more and more people in our army of, people who love and care about forest and natural landscapes like Aravalli. So thank you, sir, for that very important point.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to Dr. General Lakmapurkar and to Sohail sir for this mindfulness and as well as inculcating the knowledge and the theory into the practice. Sir, we have more questions for you. Sivanshu is asking,
Please.
are there any plans to counter the fire incidents happening in this area, which will affect the biodiversity of this area?
I didn't
And
get, are there any plans to?
are there any plans to counter the fire incidents happening in this area which will affect the biodiversity of this area?
So natural forest fires in Aravalli are rare, right? It's mostly man-made fires that are happening. And thankfully, it's not as bad as the Himalayan landscape as of now, but still, it's a problem that's coming up. And I don't know of any government initiatives or policy which is working towards it. But most of the conservation plans, management plans of sanctuaries and protected forests do include fire management and fire line and fire services. So there's a mechanism in place. Some people work according to the conservation management plans, and some governments don't. So it's again, as I said, that depends on area to area.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Asha wants to ask something. Dr. Asha, you can unmute and please ask. She raised her hand. Dr. Asha, are you still there with us in the room? All right, I'll move ahead till she comes back and rejoin. And then we have,
Hello.
yeah, Dr. Asha. Yeah, we can hear. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, before the next question, I just wanted to add that all the work that we have done in restoration of Aravallis, northern Aravallis, has been put into a book called Plants from Northern Aravalli Range, and I've shared the drive link on the chat for anybody to download that book. It's free to use book. It covers uh, lots of native plants and shrubs, and not just their photographs. It's also how to grow them, where to grow them, seed viability, germination. A lot of work has gone into it. So please feel free to download it, have a look, refer to it if you're doing any work. It's a restorational practitioner's handbook, which will give you familiarity with the trees and plants of the area and what you can do to create conservation and restoration strategies. Please, Doctor, question.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir, I'm working in Aravalli Biodiversity Park, so I can connect with you. Like what you have explained, like somewhat we are also experiencing. Like my day-to-day life, I'm going through such type of challenges.
Mhm.
So I just want to thank you that today, for the very time I'm working here, but today I came to know about something more. So a big thanks for that lot of informations.
More
And
than welcome.
just a general question I want to ask you. Like
Please.
for the students, we are just thinking that from the school, and we can connect them and make our education system likewise. But there is a sort of teenagers, I mean that college going students, they are
Mhm.
in the media. So how could we make them involved apart from the volunteer programs?
So if I uh, get your question, you want teenagers to be involved beyond volunteering.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I believe, just for my understanding, ma'am, are you working in Aravalli Biodiversity Park, the Vasant Vihar one or the Gurgaon one?
Gurgaon, sir.
Okay, you're working with Vijay.
Yes, sir.
Great,
I'm in
great.
Vijay sir's
Great.
team.
Yeah, Vijay is a good friend of mine. It's a very good question.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a very good question that you posed. I think uh, uh, personally, I have used citizen science, as a tool to get teenagers really involved. Everybody has mobile phones now, and mobile phone gives us the opportunity to make use of apps like iNaturalist, eBird, and stuff like that. And that presents a very good opportunity for getting teenagers involved, for like all my work on butterflies, dragonflies, birds has been involving people more and more, schools, universities, colleges. These kids, once introduced to the tool, become really experts at it, better than what I do, because it's just what they know. They know how to use these mobile apps. They know how to use data. So it's so interesting. Lots of things that you can do with, say, an app like iNaturalist. You can create a project which
Yes.
is about monitoring biodiversity of their own local area or their college, or very specific areas. You can make programs related to biodiversity monitoring, diarying, journaling. A lot of things can happen, and there's so much interaction in these apps. They're threefold use. One, it helps you identify what you're looking at, so it gives everybody the opportunity to become a naturalist. Second, it keeps a data of what you have looked at, in one place. I know yesterday I went to this place, what I saw, and 1 year back I went to this place, what I saw. It keeps that. And third and most important is all the data that they are contributing is open source data. It's going to actual data sets which the conservationists and ecologists like me or any other are using to get insights, get new, do new research, get insights which will eventually kind of give us the way forward in terms of conservation. Like, just to give an example, in 2020, NCF came out with the State of India Bird Report, which was the first of its kind report on. I worked with Bombay Naturalistic Society, and it's an organization which is as old as 1883. But we could never come up with State of India Bird Report because doing such large scale monitoring over such a long period of time is impossible for any organization. Now that we have the power of citizen data, right? Since 2014, eBird has become popularized in India. And in 2026 years after that, they could come out with a State of India bird report based on eBird data that citizens have been submitting. Second report has come out in 2023. So something that could not be done since 1883 is now possible through, I would say, teenagers driving the way forward. So if you like, we can connect beyond this, and I can share with you how we design these programs to get school kids, young leaders involved.
Sure, sir. I will definitely like to keep in touch and we can share many more informations. So it was
Thank you,
nice
thank you.
talking to you and
Yes,
thank you for
same
the
here.
valuable informations. I felt very connected with the content, what you have displayed and what you have make us aware of. So a big thanks from your side, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asha.
Thank you, Dr. Asha. And of course,
Yes,
sir,
season watch,
Thank you,
season watch.
ma'am.
Sai, yes, Sai is on the call. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Season watch is a great program for people who love trees. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Sai, I completely forgot. Sai, would you like to add about season watch a little bit?
Yeah, season
I
watch
think
is
it's a
actually a
wonderful program, such great insights, and she must have great examples of, like, yeah, opened my eyes to how, because now I'm traveling across India and I see how Palash flowers and how Amaltas flowers across the landscape, and it's such a fascinating thing to even know. Sai, please, here, stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks. This wasn't planned at all. I just heard you talk about citizen science, so I thought maybe I should pitch in too. Season watch is specifically trying to study 172 that are very close to parts, easy to identify. And we have been around since 10 and encourage in its own app called.
uh,
And we don't have a lot of
Sai, louder, you're not clear.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so Season Watch had its own app, and people can upload data on 172 kinds of trees across India. These trees are seasonal, very close to people's hearts, and also economically important, and so on. And we have a lot of data from Kerala because the project sort of kickstarted from there, but not much from the northern parts of India. So it'll be very nice if, since all of us are very in love with Aravallis and we are very motivated to also do something, maybe understanding how the climate change, in addition to all other calamities that fall on the landscape, is also affecting the plants there, the trees there especially.
that would be quite nice. So along with iNaturalist and eBird that people often use, it'll be quite nice to also incorporate season watch. And I've been with talking about season watch with Vijay, and now I also learned about Dr. Asha. So I'd like to reach out to you if you could share your contact, and maybe we can discuss more. And if anybody would like to know more about, please reach out to me. I'm just putting my WhatsApp number, and also you can find us on social media as and when you have the time. Yeah, that's one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sai. And there's some great informative quizzes that they come out with. Season Watch is a
Yeah.
great program. And I first heard about it when it started off. And, I couldn't imagine that. I couldn't imagine the kind of data we would be getting. But I remember not a few, like a few years back, a kid, if I'm not wrong, Sai, you can correct me, a kid kind of studied how Amaltas or Palash, one of the two, was flowering across India. And the insights from that were quite remarkable. I think there's so much that can be done with Season Watch app. Sorry, I don't use it as often as I should. Uh, Maybe I'll also start.
Thank you, Sohail sir, and thank you, Sai, for introducing a new app to our all the participants. Yeah, Sarika. Sarika, you may unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Sarika. I'm PhD student working on Lantana, basically. And my work, how Lantana is restored over the landscape. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So, my work is basically in southern part of the India, basically in
Okay.
Karnataka region. So, where
Bandipur.
community, no, sir, it's Malai Madheshwara Wildlife Sanctuary near
Okay, okay.
Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary.
Okay,
So
nice,
their
nice.
community, yeah, their community started their conservation practice by making furnitures out of lantana, biochar out of lantana, and some people approach us from the Rajasthan also because in
Ujala Foundation. I'm working with them.
yes, so
Yes.
so they also approach. So, but what I feel when I saw the southern part of area Lantana is very different from the northern areas Lantana
Sure.
spread.
Yes, yes.
So how you are looking, is it sustainable? Is it feasible or applicable in the northern part with the community involvement? In your presentation, it was everything was enriching with biodiversity, but I want little more information about the pastoralist community and other old communities which
Mm,
live in the Aravallis, which we
yes.
can like other historical literatures, what's their tradition was, something on that.
Historical tradition, their traditional this thing with lantana.
Not with lantana, but like in the area where I am working, there
Mm,
these are the basket weaver or the cane bamboo. They make for basket from the cane and bamboo.
mm-hmm.
So, is something was there in the historical context
No.
with the Aravalli? They are making something, they are using some other plants or something. Now lantana come over. And another thing I found in many of the region where they remove the lantana, the secondary invasion is coming, and that invasion is mostly because of the avenue trees. The Sena spectabilis is coming all the
Yes, yes.
reason.
Sena. Yeah.
So yes, so I just want to know the historical context about the community, how what's their livelihood was there in the Aravallis and how it changed. So
So
in that
base.
sense, yeah.
So basically, traditionally near Aravallis, they have been grazing lands, right? So these are Gujjars who have protected the forest also, and their main livelihood is dependent on this thing, dependent on fodder that they used to get from the forest, right? So they are not traditionally weavers or basket makers or anything like that. How lantana is affecting their mm, gra- browsing and grazing areas is that it's turning it into a monoculture where natural native plants have been suppressed or completely disappeared from the area. So, like what you are saying, we are also facing the same problem. I have in my restoration practice, I've also worked on lantana removal. And like I said, I'm working with the foundation that must have approached you, Ujala Foundation from Bikarni near Udaipur. They're also
Yes, sir.
making
Oh,
they're also
yes.
making so I am their I'm incubating their project. I'm a mentor for them. These guys
Okay.
are making biochar and furniture from they've just started.
Yes.
I think you guys must have A tree trained them. So
Yes, yes. So I'm the PhD student from there only.
nice,
So
nice,
in
very nice to
and
connect with
the
you.
so yeah, during the translation, because they know Hindi and A3, the person who is working, in he knows more in he's more comfortable for the English. I was the
Hmm.
translator for this communication during that Google Meet
Okay, okay,
while
nice,
connecting.
nice.
Yes. So
Nice.
I will share, sir, one article which I wrote how the lantana behavior is very different according to forest type, and its spread is also different. How their
Mhm.
secondary branches, height, and their different behavior across different forest patches. So maybe people will
Yes,
like
yes,
that
yes. See,
that thing.
we need all such sort of research on these invasive plants. Till now, these invasive plants have been ignored, and not much work has been happening on it. So it's imperative we start something. So what we use is the root cut stalk method to get rid of them, and then do active assistive regeneration, which is also very important. Once you remove the plant, you need to plant something, and what we plant usually, uh, if we plant right, then the secondary invasion doesn't spread as fast. But if we leave it barren and not plant right, then there is a great secondary invasion, and this is a big problem which will keep on increasing year by year. Uh, I think lantana can be tackled. We should all fold our sleeves and start working on lantana. Whereas problem of Prosophis juliflora is completely different and needs a different kind of approach, landscape approach to the, you know, removal of such big trees. Gujarat is facing a big problem due to Prosophis juliflora. Uh, but I think lantana, there is some future. I'm not sure if everything we are doing right now is scientifically sound, but there is an attempt. So that's why I feel that research like yours is very, very important in now today's day and age for us to even come out with, like you're saying, the spread is different between North and South India. For practitioners to understand, your studies have to be mainstreamed. If we mainstream and practitioners know about it, we can have strategies which are suited to our area. But when I started working, I contacted people in Bandipur who were doing root cut stalk method.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so all my practice is what they were doing in South India, I can replicate in North India, right? I'm a practitioner. But
Yes.
if there are nuances that we should know, I think, sorry to say, it's your responsibility to spread it. Please share this information with us, with the wider community. I hope you're part of the Ecological Restoration Alliance, and
Yes, sir. I am
and
part, but I think I just want to add one more thing.
please.
With the Gujarat, one of my senior worked with the Prosophis juliflora, but with the livelihood context, and she
Yes.
added how the Maldhari communities are actually have charcoal-based economy.
Yes,
with
yes.
which is
Sajivan
linked with,
is the
yes,
organization.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So how they are linked? So I was like ki in Aravali, I didn't find any linkage, community, and any historical records related to Lantana, how it comes in the Aravali or something. So that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is not
Thank.
much linkages and studies over it. There's not much historical data also because uh, after a uh, grazing is only affected after widespread when lantana is widespread, only then it is affected. So not much attention was paid to uh, uh, lantana when it was starting to spread. That's why I
Yes, sir.
find Udaipur, that area, Bikarni, very unique because lantana hasn't spread there. It is just starting in the last 10 to 15 years is what they know of lantana coming into being. These are the headwaters of Sabarmati River, mostly where Sabarmati starts from. And
Yes.
these hills don't have such a big problem of lantana as you might see in places like Gurgaon. So
So
I
one
think,
last,
please,
yeah. So
Sarika.
sorry to interrupt. One last thing. Have you noticed any other animal species who is eating the lantana seeds? Because in my field, I
Birds.
documented sloth bear is eating the lantana seed.
Yes,
I
sloth is
have that,
definitely.
yes. So that record also, but
Yes, yes, you are right.
scientific, yes. So someone who noticed that another animal who is starting or something, because with regarding sloth bear also very less scientific or academic uh, publications are there
Papers,
who
publication. Yeah,
documented that sloth bears are eating the lantana
yeah,
seeds.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't know of many just birds.
Oh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sarika.
Sarika. And we can also help you. You can share your research. Of course, you can go for academic publication, but you can also share your insights in our monthly newsletter. We have a readers, quite thousand, more than thousand numbers of people are reading our monthly newsletter, which I'm sure you will be getting in your emails also. So you can share because those newsletters directly reach to the practitioners, to the people who are actually working on the field rather than the people who are into the academics. So if you feel free to share your insights, we'll be happy to feature your insights in our newsletter editions also. So that's from our end. And with that, I would like to move on to the next question, sir. Satyam is asking, uh, while planting to restore landscape, have you ever preferred climbing plant species? Wanted to know if nurseries keep them, as I find climbing plant species keeping forests together and lots of ecological role.
So yeah. There are lots of climbing plants, native plants in Aravalli, and you can find that in the nursery also. We are growing them for sure. That's the question.
Um,
Was that the question?
yeah, that was the question. I
Yeah.
must have
There
missed.
are
Yeah.
climbing. Check the book that I shared. So there are these climbing native species also, which are quite important. All old growth forests that you'll see in Aravalli will have these climbing plants. Some of them are very beautiful also.
Yeah. And I don't know, Taruna May is, I'm sure he's telling the information. Hepatitis is spreading fastly in Aravalli range of North Gujarat region. So,
Okay.
Tarma, if you are still here, you wanted to ask. If not, we can just move on to next question. Thank you so much. Same way, Dr. Punjani worked good in traditional knowledge, soil erosion and degradation is a major issue of Banaskantha, Sabarkantha and Aravalli district. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us. And yeah.
Thank you.
And before, I guess with that, thank you so much, Sohail sir, for sharing your book. And I'm sure we are done with any questions. If any questions have been left, you can please unmute and ask the question directly.
Sir, I wanted to know if I wanted to work in such a field as you, what is the ideal course of study that I should follow?
Oh, you see, I have a thing against education. But what course, what are you studying right now?
I am in my Bachelor's of Life Science and Botany.
So, Jessica, I think uh, being part of any of these depends on what you want to do actually. So, if you want to do research, joining places like NCBS would be the thing to do. If you want to do some practice, then Ashoka University and A-Tree would be the places to be, or Terry would be the places to be. So there are some specialized places which are actually uh, which actually focus on practice more than theory. And I think that is the way to go forward uh, if you really want to become a restoration practitioner, as that's what I can imagine from your question.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
Joining these uh, like Ecological Restoration Alliance, these alliances is very good way forward because it will give you information and get you in contact with a lot of practitioners and see what they are doing. And that I think is the real education on our end. Uh, if we can see what is happening on the ground and match our theoretical knowledge that we are getting in the colleges or on a postgrad with what is happening on the ground, I think will be a good step forwards, becoming the bridge. Like, just to give you context, uh, I am not a MSc or a BSc. I'm a Silicon Valley engineer from California who decided to do this. Even Vijay, that we was just mentioned, he's a physics person who has become a restoration practitioner, as one of India's leading restoration practitioners. So, at one end, I'll tell you that uh, um, education isn't that important. Your practice and your work is really important. But if you really want to get an educational background, I think there are a lot of specialized institutes that are working on it, like ATRI and Terry and all that. Getting into one of those, uh, education institutions would be a good step forward. But please, get in touch with practitioners, try and there are lots of courses that are coming out with ERA who are doing it in different landscapes. So choose your landscape, see what they are doing, be in touch with them, supplement or complement your education with the actual practice on ground. And I think you will have a bright future as a restoration practitioner. Just relying on education and your degrees won't take you long.
Yeah, I agree. Is there any particular organization that I could intern with that you know?
Oh, yeah, lots of. Which region are you in?
I'm from Mumbai.
So Pune has this, can't remember the name, but FES in Udaipur, uh, Pune has, I don't know. I can share it with you if you can email me. I'll leave my email here. I can share the relevant organizations that you can work with. That will be uh, a very good this thing
Yes.
start for you.
So please
Can't name all
drop
of
your
them.
email
Can't
in the chat
remember all
box.
of them right now.
So
So
maybe you can
I'm
put, yeah, you can put
yeah,
your
I'm
email
leaving my
ID
email.
and the,
Yeah. Also for Northeast, yes, I can give you. There's lots of good work happening in the Northeast also. One of my favorite places, Raki, in India, the Far East is most unexplored and most in need of conservation and protection. So I'll be happy to let you get in touch with. So anybody who wants to know about organizations, I can get you in touch with a relevant person there in your region.
Sir, I wanted to ask one question,
Please.
and what we should unlearn to learn the new ways of, sustainability, restoration, specifically with the changing job market, where the jobs, or in short, the livelihoods are not only secured based on the degrees, but based on the experience. But the traditional mindset, as you were telling, it's go through the education. So what we need to unlearn to learn new.
So a very good question, Sonia. I think we are the last generation of degree holders. Nowadays, even the professor doesn't know what to teach. Even the student doesn't know what to answer. It's all ChatGPT. Everybody's relying on that. Eventually, it will equalize everything, and the degrees won't matter. What you do with your hands, what kind of a practitioner you become will be important. So, uh, with that being said, I think what we can unlearn, which I tell everybody, even kids, adults, old people, what we have to unlearn is this phobia of being outside, right? Everything, like, people tell me, or I was told, do 10th, then do 12th, then do college or whatever to get a job which will, वरना मजदूर के जैसे बाहर काम करना पड़ेगा, right? So वो मतलब that we have to unlearn. मजदूर कोई गंदा काम नहीं कर रहा है, बाहर रहना गंदा नहीं होता है. If you keep yourself outside, spend time outdoors, it is good for your mental health, it is good for your physical health. Eventually, that's what matters. And uh, a lot of unlearning is required in that sense. Like, uh, I'll give you an example. Maybe it'll become more clear. All of us want to go to, say, some hill station, right? And then we take a cab from our hotel, and then we go watch to a peak, we go watch the sunset, and there's nothing to do there. So we like eat 2-minute Maggie, and then there's like a 3 minutes of sunset. And after those 2 minutes of Maggie and 3 minutes of sunset, we like, what to do now? Whole traffic jam we made for this sunset, nothing to do. Let's go back. So a whole lot of effort is wasted because we don't know how to spend time outside. And I find myself so lucky that I do bird watching, I do butterfly watching, I do dragonfly watching, I do tree watching. I don't want to watch a sunset. You take me to a outdoor space, I can never get bored. It's the same space. I can keep going there again because I'm looking and interested in all of this. So if we can keep that alive for kids or adults, relearn that. Do bird watching. Do not for the good photographs, not for the, not competitive bird watching, or just for the pleasure of it. There's now even research saying that people who watch birds don't get diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's because of the way their brains are constantly being, practiced. You have to learn birds, their features. You have to look at them, recognize them in the forest. It's such a pleasurable cognitive load on your brain that it keeps your brain younger, even in the older age. So what we have to unlearn is this thing that being in a AC room is the best possible life. It's not. It's not. So I think that's the main unlearning that needs to happen. That please go out, spend time outside. If we spend time outside, we will, like, if I can sit in my room in Delhi and put on a whatever, I don't even have one, air purifier. I will never work towards cleaning the air outside because I have an air purifier. Prime Minister of our country sits with two air purifiers. That's why they're not concerned, right? If I go outside and see the deterioration in the air, I will be forced to do something about it. If it affects me personally, then only I will do something about it, right? This idea that I can isolate myself from the nature and let nature go to hell and I will still survive is what we have to get rid of. We won't survive if nature doesn't survive. We are wild animals. We are part of the wildlife that we look at. We look at wildlife and feel that wildlife is somewhere out in the forest. In a tiger reserve is where wildlife is found. No, I am a monkey, part of part of the wildlife of this earth. And if I see myself like that, I will care about the wildlife. If I don't, then who wants to save a forest 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers away from me where a tiger lives? The whole concept of Project Tiger might be very good, right? That, oh, I saved the tiger and the cheetal is going to be saved and then the grass is going to be saved. This whole way, top down, that's not what nature is. It's just in my book, nature pyramid or food web or whatever you might call it is given for my easy understanding of nature. ब्रह्मांड बहुत बड़ा है. उसमें नेचर में जो कनेक्शंस हैं, they are not linear top down. There are so many connections like that. How I understand those connections and what I do about them is important, right? So even our work on butterfly conservation, there's a butterfly called plain tiger, which is Gujarat's state butterfly now. I worked very hard to make it Delhi state butterfly, but Gujarat beat us to it. But we when we talk about butterfly conservation, we call it the Ulta Project Tiger, right? I care about the insects and everything the insects everything depends on butterfly caterpillars. Like birds eat it, spiders eat it, wasps eat everything will eat it. Monkeys eat it, human beings eat it, dogs eat it. Everything eats. It's a protein rich food. So if I care about the insects, then everything else will be cared about. All the connections will be taken care of, right? So, and the plain tiger is found behind my house, not in some forest. It's also found in some forest, but then I will start saving my backyard and not just, you know, conservation, protection, nature love cannot be just for protected forest. We have to move beyond that. We have to move to non-protected areas. It cannot be just for jungle outside or gaon. We have to move towards urban conservation. 50% of our world is turning into an urban area. So how can we neglect 50% of it? So very good question, Dr. Sonia. I think what we have to unlearn is we have to tell our kids to be outside, spend more time playing with mud.
Thank you. That was a wonderful insight and motivation as well. As we are already past the time, before we close, an important information from GES, and I would like, with your permission, I would like to share very important, initiative which GES has taken 3 years back and which made us meet Sohail sir also. So,
Dr. Sonia, you're on mute.
सोनिया आप म्यूट पे हो गए. सोनिया, you are on mute.
sir, I know I am just sharing the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the applications and the nominations are now open for Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards. These awards are basically for practitioners as well as the young researchers. All the detailed information is there on the website. The prize amount for the awards is 2 lakh rupees, cash prize and a certificate. And from this year onwards, we have also increased the jury consolation prize, which is now 50,000 rupees. Two jury consolation prizes are there in each category. All the details are there on our website. Please go apply to it. The applications are totally free of cost. We are not charging anything for applying to the awards. And if you know anybody who is doing amazing work at the ground level or into the field, please share with them so that their work get recognition, because it's very important that they should get rewarded for the tremendous and the humongous work they are doing. So with that, from my end, I would like to, just end the webinar from my end and hand over to Dr. Jayendra Lakmapurkar to give vote of thanks. And please do share with this to everybody. The information is there on our official website. Thank you, everyone.
Think
Over to you, sir.
okay. I think I already. I mean, it's been great. Learning from this particular lecture about Aravallis. Not only Aravallis. What are the practical problems we are facing as a conservator, as a those who want to do voluntary work. This is there are we are reaching at a one situation where we are finding so many environmental issues, and there are huge number of I would say volunteers who want to work with various organizations, and they require a lot of guidance. So thank you, doctors. Sorry, I'm always coming. Sorry, I think he's on call. Thank you,
No,
Sohail
no.
Madan, for your this interesting lecture. Aravallis are very critical. I'm basically a geologist, so I know it's one of the oldest mountain range in the world, I would say, and that has protected this land from earlier it was a Saraswati Valley which was flowing on the west part of it, so it gave rise to a huge it was a cradle of I would say
Civilization.
culture, Indus Valley civilization, and later on when the things got changed. It has protected the mainland on the eastern part from the desertification. It acts as a shield against it, a spreading desert. So it's a very critical ecosystem for India, and it needs protection. It needs protection from mining, protection from urbanization, and so many activities. Uh, Spreading knowledge among the young for conservation it's a key issue, because that those who people are going to get affected in future, whatever happens to this degradation, and they are going to suffer, and they will be the custodian of this uh, ecosystem. So I think this has been a very thoughtful and very thought-provoking presentation. It had a lot of knowledge on how the biodiversity is functioning, how the wildlife is important in this area, and how we are uh, going close and close to making it almost breaking so many forests. But we can see that these forests are interconnected. Even if you go to Google and search this image, you can see a huge corridor which needs protection. I think we need to work on those corridors. If these corridors are survived, I think Aravalli will be survived with this
Yes.
note. And again, thank you to all participants who has participated and stayed till late and asked such an interesting question, which are, it's a huge contribution to the presentation. And thanks, Dr. Sonia, for her commitment to this webinar. I hope we'll have some like interaction, one-to-one interaction, like webinar, like podcast. I think we would like to have a podcast with you. So maybe in future we'll again meet with a question and answer session. Uh,
Absolutely,
thank you
sir.
so much.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
just want to say at the end, I would like to thank Dr. Sonia also for putting this all together, for the invitation to speak on one of my favorite topics. I can speak for hours on Aravalli.
And one more
Thank
thing,
you.
sorry,
Please.
I downloaded that book. It's a very good book, quite picturesque and a lot of information are there. So thank you for that book also.
Yes, yes. Thank you, everybody who came, and I enjoyed myself. I would love to, Dr. Sonia, please keep sharing other talks that also happen. I would love to join as a participant also and learn from this, because like Director Saab said, ki, sharing knowledge in our age and day and age is very, very important. It's the first principle of conservation, sharing knowledge. Thank you so much.
So thank you, sir. And definitely we are working towards the podcast also. Hopefully we will soon host you just on the logistics and the technicals we are working. And thank you everyone who joined us from different corners. We got even the international audience from today. who joined us from, people joined us from Bangalore, people joined us from Assam, from Northeast, from Kerala. So that's the beauty of the webinar, that such a insightful information you are sharing, we are sharing as a medium to all the at a pan-India level. So thank you everyone who joined us today. Thank you for your time and energy. And we will again see you in our next webinar, monthly webinar, where again a great eminent speaker will come and share the practical insights along with the future guidance, what you can do. So stay connected with GES, and yeah, thank you, and do apply for the awards and share with others also. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
this, yeah, I'll end the meeting for all because we are beyond the time. So thank you. You can leave the room now.